And now we have the opportunity to hear the students' perspective on the summer, presented by Adele Ciociola and Aman Manu. Let's give them a great big round of applause.
Oliver Wendell Holmes once said, "A mind that is stretched by a new experience will never go back to its original dimensions." As you may or may not have noticed, these words are written in remarkable blue letters in the library. 5 weeks ago, I was an 8th grader, questioning my decision to do school over the summer, wondering how I had crossed so far into the academically minded category that school sounded like a fun summer activity. Today, I am a 9th grader who just experienced the most transformative weeks of my life.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Do you all remember that first week? Time has just flown by this summer. But the one thing I do remember about arrival day was how hot it was. Drenched in sweat, feet aching, and lugging a 500-pound suitcase. That was how my mom, my brother, and I made our grand entrance into Adam's house. But I'm sure arrival day and the first week was hard for a lot of you. For me personally, the first week was an emotional roller coaster. Waking up at 3 a.m. most days with tears streaming down my face and choking back sobs on the phone to my mom, who was probably suffering more than me out of worry. Homesickness is weird that way. You don't think you'll miss your family or your home until you're silencing cries on your walk to the first class of the day.
On my first day, we took a tour of the campus, staring in awe at the lush green lawn, red brick buildings, and the prospect of an incredible summer. With every question of, "Which dorm are you in?" and the responses of, "You're a day student? At least you have air conditioning," this desire grew. Until finally, my subtle hints to my mom of wanting to switch to the dorm became less subtle and more frequent. 2 days later, I was moving out of my grandpa's house and into Isham House. It was at this point I realized there actually wasn't going to be any air conditioning. The showers were going to be communal, and I was going to have a fully immersive, spectacular summer. No offense, Grandpa.
For me, my first week was spent recovering from the shock of being away from my family. The dorm room was my best friend around that time. The off-white paint, the brown desk and dresser drawers, the white fan covering the bottom half of my window. All of those things were a safety net. I could rely on them to ground me because of their constant presence, always in the same place and not susceptible to changes, unlike the rest of the Andover environment. And slowly, I began replacing those objects with people. The off-white walls with my friends, the brown desk with my counselors, the white fan that sheltered me from the unbearable pain of living in silence with my teachers. At that moment, it felt like I was a 500-piece puzzle with missing parts, and others were finding new ways for me to be whole again.
While we're on the topic of things that grounded us, for me, it was something that literally had roots in the ground. Every Wednesday, I spent 15 minutes staring at a tree. And while I know a lot of you love doing this in your free time, I was doing it for a psychology assignment called The Art of Reflection. I was told that by the end of the summer, my thinking of this tree would transform as I had grown as a person. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty skeptical. You're telling me that after spending 5 weeks here, students' ideas change so much that a tree becomes increasingly enlightening? Let's just say I wasn't sold. To my surprise, I began to feel a sense of ownership for this tree. I began to think of it as my tree. I I found myself walking past it on my way to class and checking in to see how it was doing. I was equally surprised to realize that my ideas of the tree not only evolved, but reflected my evolving mentality. The first week, the tree was a metaphor for dance, and the continuity it had provided me with. The second week, the tree reminded me that things change depending on how you look at them, and things that may seem large, like my ever-growing assignments, were actually quite manageable. In week 3, the tree provided me with a sense of comfort, a feeling that I had achieved on campus by the middle of the program. In week 4, the tree was a support system, only functioning effectively because of the strong foundation. At this time, I had really fallen into the swing of things and found people who I felt really comfortable around and had formed strong connections with.
That was one of my favorite parts of being here. Making connections. If there's anything we've learned how to do while being here, it's that. Whether it was through interactive games with our teachers, late night meetings with our counselors, or just eating lunch in the pouring rain with our friends, in some way, shape, or form, we all made connections with people over these past 5 weeks. It was these connections I made that helped me feel secure. Especially because when I came in initially, I wasn't sure what to expect. Me, a Pakistani female who spoke in Celsius and meters instead of Fahrenheit and miles. Me, a Muslim who was genuinely scared of coming to the US. Yet here were people who acknowledged and accepted that part of my identity. Many of us, myself included, will be returning home to a country other than the US. I'll admit, I've missed having the sting of spices coat my tongue after eating a meal. I've missed wearing traditional kurtas, a kind of dress we wear back home, that were built to withstand intense heat better than jeans and shorts ever could. And I'm so excited to get back to that. But I'm also going to miss the people that I've met here. I'll miss the dorm room that was always sticky from the heat or wet from the rain. I'll miss running from the dining hall every day to Bullfinch Hall at 8 in the morning to get breakfast and somehow make it to class on time.
Over the course of these 5 weeks, we were given the freedom and independence to get ourselves to class on time and complete our homework assignments in a timely fashion. We were given the autonomy to take control of our education and reach out for help when we needed it and revise papers to make them better. It was impossible for this to not be a transformative experience, one that was reflected in something as simple as a tree. And as I say that, I am confident that all of our brains have been stretched indefinitely. For once new information is acquired, it changes our whole perspective and the way that we see things.
Thank you for making our time at Andover Summer so memorable. Thank you for teaching us new things and stretching our minds to new ways of thinking. Thank you for waiting until the end of our speech. We hope you enjoyed our company just as much as we enjoyed yours.